Today we're going to build off of our sequences that we learned yesterday. So it's not always going to be helpful to list out all the terms of a sequence or to just keep going, let's say if I want the 20th term of a sequence. Sometimes it's going to be best to use a formula. A sequence is defined recursively if the first term is given to you and there's a method of determining the nth term. Remember, that just means any term in the future, by using the terms that precede it. So we can define any sequence recursively if I am given the first term and there's a way to keep going using the terms that come before the one I'm trying to find. So if I'm trying to find the 10th term, can I use the 9th term, the 8th term, the 7th to get to that 10th term? If I can't, then I can't define the sequence recursively. In most cases, I will be able to define it recursively as long as I'm given my first term. Take, for instance, this example. We have a first term. This is exactly where it starts, is at -7. That is our first term. So we have this first term in the sequence, which is -7. That is our u(1), because it's the first term in this sequence u. Our second term, u(2), is -4. So I have u(1) equals -7, u(2) equals -4, u(3) equals -1. Can I determine a method that I'm going from one to the next? I'm doing that by doing what? Adding 3 to each term. So if I add 3 to -4, that gives me -1. Add 3 to -1, that gives me 2. Add 3 to 2, gives me 5. So I could determine that my next number would be 8. Right? So this is saying, a recursive sequence is saying that I have a first term and there's a method of determining the nth term by using the terms that precede it. So I'm using my first term and this method of +3 each time to get to the end, or whatever term I want. So in order to find the u(4), in order to find the 5th term, if we think about it, in order to find u(5), I took u(4), or this 2, and added 3. u(5) equals 2 plus 3. My 2 came from u(4). So I took the 4th term and added 3 to find the 5th term. If I'm looking for my nth term, if I'm trying to find u(n), I take the term before u(n). Now, 4 is before 5. How do we go backwards from 5 to 4? We subtract 1. So if I'm trying to find the nth, I subtract 1 from n. I take u(n minus 1, and I add 3. So when I'm talking about defining a sequence recursively, this is what it means. It means I take the nth term. In order to find the nth term, I take the one before it and add 3. This is the recursive formula for this particular sequence. And in my recursive formula, I'm always going to have u(n) equal to u(n minus 1, and then whatever is happening to it, to each term to get the next one. In this case, it was +3. Let's try this one. I'm going from 14 to 5 to negative 4 to negative 13. How do I get from 14 to 5? I might be multiplying by some fraction, but that's not the case. I could subtract 9 to get backwards. 5 minus 9 gives me negative 4. Negative 4 minus 9 gives me negative 13. So when I write this sequence, u sub n equals, it's u sub n minus 1. Now am I adding something? I would be adding a negative, which is the same as subtracting 9. That's my answer. U sub n equals u sub n minus 1 minus 9. This one, what am I adding each time? Looks like I'm adding 100 each time. Fairly easy to see. So u sub n equals the term before it, which is u sub n minus 1, plus 100. And that's all I need. Unfortunately, we're not always going to be adding and subtracting numbers, though. If I look at this one, going from negative 3 to negative 6, I can subtract 3. But going from negative 6 to negative 12, I'm not subtracting 3, I'm subtracting 6. Going from negative 12 to negative 24, I'll be subtracting 12. So that's not going to work for this one. Let's see if I can multiply it by anything to get the next term. So those are all bad because it switches. What if I multiply? Negative 3 times 2 gives me negative 6. Negative 6 times 2 gives me negative 12. Negative 12 times 2 gives me negative 24. Now I have a sequence. So now u sub n equals u sub n minus 1, or the term before, times 2. So u sub n equals 2 times u sub n minus 1. Let's do one more example. Figure out what you would multiply by here. I go from 4 to negative 20. From negative 20 to 100. So you notice it's not going to be an even jump between each one of them. This is going down by 600. This is going up by 120. This is going down by 24. To get from 4 to negative 20, you got to go down 24. So let's look at the multiplication. 4 times 5 gives me 20, but this is negative 20. That tells you that I need to multiply by a negative 5. So my sequence, if I checked it out for the rest of them, negative 20 times negative 5, negative times a negative is positive 100, times a negative gives me negative 500. U sub n equals negative 5 times u sub n minus 1. Okay, I'm going to give you an assignment to try this out and let me know how you do. Remember, I'm always here for the Google Meets every single day. So what you should do is, if you have any struggles at all, you should get on during your class time. If you're not sure when our Google Meet is, look at our class times in Google Classroom. It is literally at the top. And it's the last 15 minutes before class ends. So for pre-calc, it goes from 12:52 to 1:07. You can get on at any time in there. I would recommend getting on early so that you know you'll get your question answered. Okay, have a good day.